Hello everyone, this is Grace. It is November the 19th, 2023, and we are going to be speaking about the fatherless in the Bible. So, I've been putting this study out for a very long time. I've been meaning to do it for, I think, years now, a couple of years. So, it just seemed like such a big study, but it has to be done now because when you give to the poor, it often says the care for the fatherless and the widow. So we need to know what the fatherless is. So I'm trying to do like a Cliff Notes version and then relying on you all to be good Koreans and follow up on it yourself. But we're going to touch on some of the major issues so that you can see what I'm speaking of when I talk about not just the fatherless. The reason why this is such a big study is because here's the thing. In the Bible, there's only one parent as we define parent, and that's the mother. The father isn't defined as a parent, not the way we define a parent. There are specific duties for the father. Of course, he does the blessings. We're going to look at, I think, more than one example of him out in the field with the son, teaching him to work. They also helped with health. There's an example in the New Testament where the fathers, more than one, where the fathers come to Jesus and ask for help in healing their child. So they helped with the health as well. But the parenting, that interpersonal relationship is done, I'm going to say exclusively because I can't think of any examples at all of the men doing that at all. Protection, of course, is illustrated in the Bible. We see that with not only with the fathers but the brothers as well. If you look at David and his family, and also two of the sons of Isaac, I think, destroyed an entire town. Levi and another brother destroyed an entire town in order to protect their sister's reputation. So you see a lot of things that we are given illustrations of in the Bible as duties that are specific for men. But parenting simply isn't one of them. The men, like I mentioned, I'm sure I mentioned it many times before, Solomon had 1,000 children. He had 1,000 wives and concubines. 1,000. He was not sitting there being daddy to all of those children. He wasn't. You have to have a more creative imagination than I do to think that he did. I just don't think it's possible. But anyway, we're going to look at some of the examples of men in the Bible, and then we're going to investigate fatherlessness, because fatherlessness, according to the Bible, doesn't just mean you don't have a father. It's the responsibilities of the father that need to be met. So if a woman has protection, wealth was provided by the father if she has wealth. If she has someone else step in and fill those responsibilities, then she's just fine. You can even see I haven't really meditated on this, but you can just, at a surface level, I'm thinking about it, you can even see the illustration in the church of God. The woman is the church, and we bring up the children and teach them and nurture them. But the father is the law. This is why you don't marry a woman who doesn't believe in your God, because she's going to raise your child according to a different law. The father has the responsibility of laying down the law in which the children are supposed to be brought up in. So, Jesus, the husbandman, has the law, the 10 Commandments. The church raises up the church and the children according to the laws of the Father. But let's look at the examples. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. This is a continual theme that you will see about the fatherless. You will see that the fatherless continually is persecuted, beat down, conned, attacked, murdered, swindled, and oppressed by other men. The father is the protector. You shall not pervert the judgment of the stranger. He's denied judgment. Nor the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. The widow, every time, constantly you will see her pictured as poor, and people are taking from her even in her poverty. And men tend to be very disgusted by this. I'm just saying. But mercy is supposed to also be given to the fatherless, those that don't have protection. But thou shalt remember that thou wast we don't need that. When thou cuttest down thine harvest in the field, and hast forgot when thou cuttest down thine harvest in the field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hands. When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. Since the father provides wealth, they are also noted with the poor. If they don't have a father, then the wealth is automatically assumed to not have wealth. So I put a couple of more scriptures in there like this, but we're not going to go over all of those. We're just going to go look at the examples, the illustrations, but we'll read these. Cursed be he that perverted the judgment of the stranger, fatherless, and widow. And all the people shall say, Amen. If ye oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then I will cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever. Thus saith the Lord, execute ye judgment and righteousness, and deliver the spoils out of the hand of the oppressor, and do no wrong. Do no violence to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow, neither shed innocent blood in this place. For if you do this thing indeed, then shall there enter in by the gates of this house kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, he and his servants and his people. But if ye will not hear these words, I swear by myself, saith the Lord, that this house shall become a desolation. And I will come near to you in judgment, and will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the hirelings in his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. We don't need that part. That's from another study, and I forgot to delete it. And Reuben, okay, so here's an example. Here's an example of what we just spoke of. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field. Reuben is the son of Leah, and brought him unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. You see the women, there's not a lot of examples of the women interacting with their children, but there are examples. And I really could not find any examples for men outside of working. Where I found an example for a man, then I would apply that as a trait of men, as a trait of the father. But if I could find no examples, then all of this stuff, and the reason why I have to say this is because of the times. People are lying. People are lying and saying that they care about things that they don't care about as men, and people are lying. Women are lying and saying that they care about things that they don't care about as women, and it's getting mixed up. And as a Christian, you need to get right. you really need to get right. You need to get your head level, and you need to get right. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself. And that's not good. That's not good. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Oh, this is a blessing. I could not remember what this was. This is Isaac blessing Jacob. Okay, so the father handed down the blessing. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curses thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. We can count this as wisdom as well, the blessing. I did not highlight anything. I don't know why, but I don't remember what it is. So let's just read. And Jacob heard him that had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field, and Jacob held his peace until they were come. So the father is there working in the field, and his sons were working with him, but they were working on the cattle in the field. And Jacob waited until his sons came before he addressed the men. He treated them as adults. This is where he addressed them, and he respected them as adults. So you see, I guess you can. I'm trying not to deny you the credit that you receive as fathers without overstepping the line. So I'm just gonna point it out, and you can draw your own conclusions. But the primary reason why I put it in here is because you often see, very often, a lot of times, you see the sons working with their fathers. Kings, you see, handing down the throne to their sons. Men, another thing I don't think I put any scriptures in here. Wait, I think I might have. But just in case I didn't, let me bring this up. Is that men, the reason why I say as long as the woman has the requirements met of the men, which can be met outside of the parenting, it can be met outside of the parenting, it just can be, is because society helps to bring up the men. Now you can see many examples of this in the Bible. You can also see it in your daily life. But the primary example that you see in the Bible is every time you had a good king, where going down, keeping the laws of God going down, you saw Israel behave appropriately according to the laws and the dictates of God. Whenever they had a bad king, it was exactly the opposite. The environment that's set up around men seems to influence the way they behave. So the mother is going to do her parenting job. But it's also the society which men has set up, which also influences the way that the men behave. There's something outside of the home that influences you far greater than it will influence the woman. Even though women conform to society, and I have an example of that as well. But the bigger influence, the greater influence is with the men. Even to the point where you change the way you see your laws. We see that obviously, and I didn't put the examples in here, where the Bible says don't marry a wife again outside of the law. I'm not talking about that right now. I'm just using it as an example. Because she will get you to change your law because you conform to the environment which you are set in. And if you're in an environment where everyone is swindling everyone, you're going to work within that environment in order to live. Women are much less likely to do that. We're much less likely to conform because we can get a man to conform for us. Or we just won't. We won't. Not when it comes to changing our God and our laws. I didn't highlight anything. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. Okay, we'll read through this. So, this man, him and his son were out working in the field. And the child was grown, and it fell on a day. It wasn't grown. It wasn't a grown child. It was a kid, but he was grown up. That was my understanding anyway, but I didn't read through it very quick. I read through it quickly. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father's to the reapers. And he said to his father, my head, my head. And he said to a lad, carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God and shut the door and went out. And she called unto her husband and said, send me, I pray thee, one of the young men and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God and come again. And he said, wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, it shall be well. And she saddled an ass and said to her servant, drive and go forward, slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So I changed my mind. I don't want to read this. What's going to happen is she's going to go get the prophet Elijah, and Elijah is going to raise the son from the dead. The father is going to be out working in the field the entire time. He's not going to know anything about it. But she has taken it upon herself wholly to take care of the child while he is out there working in the field, carving out a living. So that was my point of putting this in here. There was something else that I wanted to say, though. That's why I stopped reading. Something important. Hold on. I can't remember what I wanted to say, but hopefully it'll come back to me. But I just wanted to show you, first of all, the child working with his father in the field. And then, well, that's really what I wanted to show you. And also I wanted to point out that the care was given by the mother. He didn't even ask about the child when she said she was going out of town. Which I thought, yeah, he was worried about what was in front of him at the time. Men today, because of society, have decided that they wanted to have a pretend attachment to, not to their sons, because he left his son for sure. He's just a man, right? He figured if everything wasn't fine, the woman would tell him. Okay, his wife would tell him. So he had no reason to be concerned unless she said, hey, there's a problem. Now, but men do not have that attachment to a child immediately when they're born. And men are proud of their children, according to the Bible. Not me. Oh, actually, I'm here right now with Absalom. I put in this... this Absalom? Oh, here. Yes, this is where exactly where I wanted to be. I put this in here because you hear how much David loved Absalom. But they don't tell you that Absalom was a wonderful person. Absalom was this and Absalom was that. Let's look at what they tell us about Absalom, whom David adored. But in all Israel, there was none to be so much praised as Absalom for his beauty. From the sole of his foot even to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. And when he polled his hair, for it was at every year's end that he polled it, because his hair was heavy on him. Therefore he polled it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. Why do we need to know how much Absalom's hair weighed? Because David adored him. David absolutely adored him. Why? Because he was proud of him. There was none so much to be praised as Absalom for his beauty. He was also charismatic. He charmed everyone. Everyone loved him. They all loved him. That's how he was able to betray David and take over the kingdom. Because he was so beloved. And David was very proud. That's the picture that God gives in the Bible for men, that they are proud of their children. We're going to juxtapose that against David when he loses his child with Bathsheba. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died, and the servants of David feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, Behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken to our voice. He's been laying flat down, face down on the floor praying for the child. And he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead? But when David saw that his servant whispered, David perceived that the child was dead. Therefore David said unto his servant, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. And David arose from the earth and washed it and anointed himself and changed his apparel and came into the house of the Lord and worshipped. Then he came to his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him and did eat. Then said his servants unto him, What thing is this that thou hast done? Thou didst fast and weep for the child while it was alive. But when the child was dead, thou didst rise and eat bread. And he said, While the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, Who can tell whether God will be gracious to me, that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me. Very level-headed approach. A very level-headed approach, which it does not show Bathsheba, I think that's what her name was, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't quite that easy for her, just from experience. But experience can be wrong. It can be lying. But that attachment for men, according to the Bible, is pride. They're proud of their creation. And they're proud of the creation's achievement. And that's why they can step in. If you look at the Bible, you can, and men will say this is wrong, and I don't really know. I'm not a man, okay? But if you look at the Bible, if you look at what the picture that's given into the Bible, if a man marries a single mother and he's raising her child, he is actually much happier if the other father is out of the picture and not coming in and opposing upon his hard work raising that child and preparing them for life. Now, I don't know if that's true. Wait, yes, I do. I'm going to believe in it regardless, because that's the picture that the Bible paints. That's the picture that the Bible paints. And that's not to say that the man would not be tolerant, because that's that other man's child as well. I'm sure he would be very tolerant. He's going to be tolerant if for no other reason that the Bible says he clings to his wife. He loves his wife. And he's not going to upset her by causing that division between him and the natural father. But looking at the words of the Bible, he would be happier if the other father would just go away and leave them alone. That's just the picture that's drawn. And I have to say that out loud because so many people are saying otherwise. Everyone wants to say other than what the Bible is. Everyone wants to. They're painting a picture of a man that's uniquely different than what's given in this Bible. And you need to get your mind straight as a Christian. Stop taking on feminine traits that are not you. Because society is trying to tell you to be different than what you are as a man. That's it. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say it. And said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence. Make not my father's house an house of merchandise. I forgot why I put this in here. Okay, well. Oh, because he said my father. He said my father's house. Um, Jesus did the work of his Father. So he said, make not my Father's house of merchandise. I don't know why I put that in there, to be honest with you. Let's continue on. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with the maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. I put this in here because in a previous study, it said that a man is supposed to take care of his house. And I took it out because it didn't make any exceptions, common sense exceptions as far as I was concerned. But here, I put it in here to show that a man was responsible for taking care of his own. But he's not only caring for his own, he's caring for his cousins, his distant cousins. All of them can reap from his field. Men are generous to women. They are. Well, they used to be. Men have gotten out of the characteristic of being men today. Not because of any fault of their own, but because society is teaching them otherwise. And when I made that comment about pretenders, I don't even know if that's valid today. Pretend women seem to be getting more and more educated about real women as we get closer to the last days. Those, I didn't put it in this study, but it might be of interest for you all to know. Oh, hold on, because we had quite a few okay, we can't get into that. But I will say just very quickly, I can't get into it though, that pretend women and pretend men do not fall under that criteria in, is it 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, something like that, of effeminate and stuff like that? Absolutely not. There will be pretend women and pretend men in heaven. And you can look at, and we will do it in a separate video sometime, but not right now. You can look at the story of the captain of the army when he went to see Elijah. And when he went to see Elijah, it's a little bit complicated. I wish I wouldn't have brought it up now, because I didn't understand that story at first. But in that story, just quickly, that captain openly worships another god while serving the God of Israel in that story. But he sees a lot of these pretend women and pretend men, he sees them not just as slaves, but as tortured slaves. And they cannot worship the way we worship. And that's why that story's in the Bible. But we've got a few more scriptures to get through and only a few minutes to do it, so we have to move on. If any man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged. Again, I just put that in there to show that men are providers, and they provide for others in their families as well, besides just their own. And a certain centurion servant who was dear unto him was sick and ready to die. Oh, this was a nice comparison. Hopefully I can close out in this. No, I cannot. Okay, we might go over a little bit on this because I want to. Okay. Now this is not a Hebrew man. A certain centurion servant who was dear unto him was sick and ready to die. And when he heard of Jesus, he sent unto him the elders of the Jews, beseeching him that he would come and heal his servant. And when they came to Jesus, they besought him. I can't go on. We have to start another video, as much as I don't want to. We've got too many scriptures for me to try and wrap it up in one video. So let's stop here. And I'm going to stop here because I want to talk about this, and I don't want to just drag this video on longer than 30 minutes. So we'll start here in our next video, and I will talk to you then.